Everything feels awful, nothing seems to be going right. Wait a second, this actually says there's some good news after all. We're starting with Intel setting up a serious return, the AI hype bubble clearly existing, memory pricing finally easing up, and AMD putting real pressure on Nvidia. So welcome back everyone. Intel's upcoming CPU lineup looks like the rebound they've been chasing for years now. I've already gone through the specifications more than once at this point, but for a quick summary, we're talking about a ridiculous 52-core processor carrying up to 288 MB of L3 cache. So yes, Intel is very clearly going all in with its Nova Lake generation. According to recent reports, the company is considering branding the higher-end parts under a Core X name. If you remember, Intel previously launched a Core X HEDT lineup years ago, so this would act as a spiritual successor, and it genuinely looks like Intel wants to push these closer to the HEDT market, though with some limitations. For example, these chips are still expected to run on the consumer Z990 platform, which means no extreme PCIe lane counts, no quad-channel memory, or anything of that nature. One obvious concern here is power consumption. Not too long ago, a rumor surfaced claiming the top-end SKUs would draw an insane amount of power. Now, a new leak suggests that only certain motherboards will actually allow the full-power 52-core configuration, while other boards will cap both performance and power output. In simple terms, if you buy Intel's flagship part, you're probably going to need a very expensive high-end motherboard. Given the power demands, that isn't exactly shocking, but it does become a problem when you start comparing it to AMD's Threadripper platform, which clearly offers more platform-level advantages. Still, it's hard not to be excited, though realistically everything is going to come down to pricing. Do you think Intel can hit hard enough to pull off the comeback they desperately need, or will they price themselves out of relevance again? Let me know what you think in the comments below. It also appears that the AI bubble is very real, as businesses are not finding AI anywhere near as useful as they expected. This comes from a major new survey conducted by the National Bureau of Economic Research, and it reveals a lot about the current state of AI adoption. The paper, titled Firm Data on AI, surveyed nearly 6,000 senior executives across the US, the UK, Germany, and Australia. To start things off, over the past 3 years, more than 80% of firms reported no meaningful impact from AI on productivity or employment. Here's the crazy part though, nearly 70% of those firms reported using some form of AI, meaning this isn't a lack of experimentation, it's just not delivering results. On top of that, among companies that do use AI regularly, the average executive only uses it for about 1.5 hours per week. Some people are trying to compare this situation to what happened during the 70s and 80s with the productivity paradox. The idea is that productivity dropped back then because companies invested in computers instead of rebuilding the workflows around them. While that comparison has some truth to it, I think it falls apart pretty quickly here. It's still early, but the outlook so far isn't great. And honestly, that's good news for PC gamers. And sticking with good news, this one is finally happening. Memory prices are actually starting to fall. First up, we have a detailed memory price chart from the German retailer Computer Base. As you can see, it tracks specific memory kits going all the way back to last September. Looking through the data, prices are clearly moving downward. Some kits have even dropped significantly compared to just a month ago. For example, last month prices were an absurd 344% higher than September, while this month brings that number down to around 313%. Obviously, anything over 300% is still ridiculous, but seeing any decline at all is encouraging. That said, this data comes from Germany, so it could simply be regional. Thankfully, when we look at DDR5 prices in the US, we're seeing similar drops across multiple capacities and speeds. That said, DDR4 pricing appears to be trending upward, likely because consumers are sticking with older platforms instead of upgrading due to DDR5 pricing. Even so, this is still very good news. Unfortunately, storage prices are telling a different story. Computer Base also tracks storage pricing back to September, and while a few models dipped slightly, the overall trend climbed from a 74% increase to nearly 87%. That's obviously bad, but it was largely expected. Storage prices only started rising recently and haven't experienced the same massive spike memory did. The real question is whether memory prices will continue to fall or if this is just a brief pause before they climb again. Hopefully it's the first scenario. AMD is also forcing Nvidia's hand when it comes to next-generation GPUs. There's been ongoing debate about when those next-gen cards will actually launch. Some estimates point to 2028, while others are hoping for 2027. No matter what Nvidia wants to do or when they would prefer to launch, they won't be able to avoid it. This once again shows why competition matters. Nvidia will be forced to release something to compete with AMD because they cannot allow AMD to run on challenge for months at a time.